Welcome students. Let us start your unit 2, that is the inflation theories. Uh, so we will be starting with the very first theory of inflation, that is supply side demand side theory of inflation. Uh, can we say too much money chases too few goods? Then the inflation rises. So what happens generally? Let us talk about what do you say, the classical theory of inflation. Okay, actually, the classical theory of inflation is derived from the money market of classicals, where we use the strict version of quantity theory of money given by Irving Fisher. The strict version of quantity theory says is used to explain causes of inflation as per the given version. MB is equal to PT. Okay, where
जी सर कोजेस के बाद क्या था?
the causes of inflation as per the given version, MB is identically equal to PT. Okay, where M is money supply, V is the velocity of money. I hope you remember this equation. We did this equation when we were discussing the aggregated classical model. P is the general price level and P is the total number of total number of transactions produced in the economy. So basically T is the quantity, sort of quantity of all final goods and services, all final goods and services produced due to assumption of full employment T remains fixed. Okay, it cannot be increased because the economy is already operating at full employment. So when you are operating at full employment, you are operating at 100% of capacity, so you can't increase the level of output. This is the assumption that T remains fixed at a given point of time. Velocity of money, V, is an institutional factor, and so remains constant at a given point of time. Thus, the equation can be written as m bar v, sorry, can be written as m v bar is equal to p t bar, where v bar and t bar represent the constant values of p and t at a given point of time. Thus, p can be taken as v bar upon t bar into m. So, p is written as small k into m, which means, and obviously p dash is greater than 0, which is basically k, which means dp upon dm is equal to k is positive. That is, as money supply and rises, the general price level P goes up by the proportion K, by the proportion K. By proportion K. This happens. This happens because T remains fixed and as money supply rises, the demand side MV exceeds the supply side of economy, that is PT, because PT is nothing but the market value of all final goods and services produced in the economy, and MB represents the demand. So when M rises, MB increases, and PT, the supply side, falls. Okay, so excess of demand is therefore the cause of an increase in general price level. Further, the equation can be written as further the equation can be written as P is equal to V bar into M upon T bar. Suppose M increases by proportion lambda, that is M1 is equal to M plus lambda M is equal to 1 plus lambda M. Lambda M. Then the P1 would be P1 is equal to V bar into M1 upon T bar. Then the general price level will be this V bar into 1 plus lambda M upon T bar. So P is equal to 1 plus lambda into V bar M upon T bar, 1 plus lambda into P V1. Thus, price level will also change by proportion lambda, and new price level is P1 is equal to 1 plus lambda into P. ठीक है बच्चे? However, if T is made variable and T is also increased by proportion lambda as M rises by proportion lambda, then then P1 would be is equal to V bar into 1 plus lambda M upon 1 plus lambda into T. not vice versa, into t bar into t. Okay, I'm making t as a variable now. This and this will be cancelled out, so ultimately v bar m upon t, which implies that p1 will be is equal to p. Thus, if supply is made flexible, not constant, then the increased demand due to increased money supply can be matched by enhanced supply of supply of goods and services, that is T. In such case, the general price level won't change, and hence there will not be any inflation. Okay, there will not be any inflation. This can also be proved as follows. This can also be proved as follows. MV is equal to PT. Okay, V bar this, differentiating both sides with respect to time period T. So what we get? V dash dm upon dt is equal to T bar dp upon dt. Okay. If I write it as 1 upon m, or can I write it as dm upon dt is equal to T bar upon V bar dp upon dt. ये लिख लीजिए या we need inflation ना, so or we can write it as dp upon dt is equal to V bar upon T bar dm upon dt लिख सकता हूँ. Okay. Now, if I divide both sides with p, can I write it as 1 upon p dp upon dt is equal to V bar upon T bar dm upon dt divided by, what would be the value of p here? P would be V bar upon T bar into m, P bar upon T bar into m. This and this will be cancelled out. Can I write it as 1 upon m dm upon dt? Okay. This is inflation rate, rate of growth of prices, or also called rate of growth of general price level. And this is exactly is equal to rate of growth of money supply. Okay. So in some inflation occurs at same rate at which general at which money supply rises in an economy. Right? If you have any problem, you may discuss. Now suppose T is made a variable, then P is equal to V bar or MV bar is equal to PT. Okay. Now can I write it as V bar dm upon dt would be is equal to U into V formula dt upon dt. T is the number of transactions, small t is the indicator of time. Okay. Plus P dp upon dt. Can I write it as T dp upon dt is equal to V bar dm upon dt minus P dt upon dt. लिख सकता हूँ can I write it as dp upon dt is equal to V bar upon t dm upon dt minus P upon t dt upon dt. लिख सकता हूँ कि नहीं? Now dividing both sides by P, we get 1 upon P dp upon dt is equal to V bar upon t dm upon dt, okay, divided by what is the value of P here? V bar upon t into m minus P upon t dt upon dt divided by V bar upon t. Okay, divided by P. It is ultimately P. We can directly write P. What is the need to fill the value? So this P and P will be cancelled out. Okay. This and this will be cancelled out. So can I write it as 1 upon P dp upon dt is equal to 1 upon m dm upon dt minus 1 upon t dt upon dt. So inflation rate is equal to rate of growth of money supply minus rate of growth of output or number of transactions. So 1 upon P dP upon dt means the rate of inflation would be is equal to 0 when substitute the value 1 upon m dm upon dt minus 1 upon t dt upon dt would be is equal to 0. 1 upon m dm upon dt is equal to 1 upon t dt upon small t. What does it mean? It means, in simple, no inflation will occur if the increase in money supply, if the increase in money supply is matched by increase in level of output or goods by same proportion. Thus, inflation will occur when too much money will chase too few goods. If the quantity of that much is sufficient. So this was the classical theory of inflation, where we proved that uh, inflation will occur only if there is the shortage of level of output and money supply is excess to the level of output. We say whenever additional money supply is pumped and output level remains same, then ultimately prices will increase. Okay, in case you make output as variable and if suppose you pump 10 you increase the money supply by 10% and you also you are able to increase the level of output by 10%, then there will be no inflation at all as per this theory. But if you fails to pump the same output level as you are pumping money supply in the system, then ultimately inflation will occur. Also, other way around, we can say that if output more supply is pumped in the economy, but money supply is less, it falls short, then deflation may occur. Okay, there may be negative change in prices. So even that possibility cannot be ruled out. But issue is, if we go by classicals assume that T remains fixed because of this assumption of full employment. So they said inflation will occur if you will exercise monetary policy, because in such case the balance between MV and PT will be disturbed. Money supply will be excess to the level of transactions available in the economy. So ultimately, MV will exceed PT, and hence the demand will exceed the supply, and so inflation will occur because too much money will chase too few goods. So that was all about the classical theory of inflation. We shall continue with the Keynesian theory of inflation in the next lecture. And now I will be taking your attendance.